hear me? Okay, that's it. I've been chosen by the gods to deliver this. Okay. Sorry, Mina, you're gonna have to sit this one out. Lucky you, but I'll take it from here. No problem. Okay, thank you everybody. Couple of minutes late in starting. Technical difficulties with Discord, as always. RIP Mina, thank you. Thank you for the effort. Okay, so today, what are we going to do on this community call for Swarm? I'm Callum. I'll be hosting today. I'm sure most of you are familiar with me. For the agenda, what I'm planning on moving through is the core development updates with myself and the B team as well. Then what I want to do is move to an in-focus look at Swarm and our path ahead with basically our partnerships, business development, and kind of product and project outlook. And then equally moving into more of a community talk of Web3 in general. Where's the momentum? Where's the market? What are the policies? And where does that put Swarm in the mix of everything? And is what we're building and the biz dev direction we're moving in sync up with that mission and that narrative? And hopefully that's going to be pretty interesting and enlightening for us all. Definitely have a few good talking points. With that being said, then what I want to cover is we just had 2.6. The network and the dashboards that I was looking at myself look better than ever, really. Price is on its way down, freezes, all-time lows, network speeds, upload speeds look great. All in all, really good even distribution of nodes across the network. So heading towards the B 2.7 release, and what we really want to hear from is the B team, and today we have Calin for that. So Calin, if you can raise your hand, I'll bring you to stage, and we'll hear what the latest and greatest is from the B team. Here we go. Okay, Calin, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yeah, your mic works as well,
Yeah.
at least for me. All
Nice,
right, off to
nice.
the races. So, Colin, can you tell us basically how did the 2.6 release go? What results did that give you? And then what are you planning or what are you working on next for the 2.7?
So I think you mentioned very well. Things look very smooth, smoother. We had some improvements regarding speeds and startup times for also for first time nodes that came into the network. And it's good to see that things are progressing so well, and the project is improving from release to release. Okay, so regarding the status, the B status for this month. Before I start with it, yeah, I'm Calin. I'm a B core developer, and I'm replacing Nikki for this month with the status. And I want to say that we've seen strong progress across key areas that are shaping the future of Swarm network. And yeah, let's get into some concrete stuff. So first, the B team has been actively working on the WASM implementation, which is a key part of our B in the browser effort. One major milestone here was and is the secure WebSockets communication, specifically AutoTLS. We are now in the final stages with this. So we are just having to resolve some last reachability issues that to ensure a smooth and secure connection for the nodes. Another challenge that we tackled was the need for multiple underlay address support. After close collaboration with the research team, a few design iterations, we now have a final architecture in place, and implementation is already underway, which is pretty awesome. Also, we also aligned with the research team on how to handle node certificates, which is also an important piece of making the browser native node secure and reliable. And that's it for the in browser and WASM implementation. Other stuff that we did this month, and even if it was it was a month of holidays, August, we were pretty busy. So moving on, another important area of work this month has been the pull sync sweep. We've now completed the first steps. The metrics are implemented, dashboards are live and ready. And yeah, with those insights in place, the team has already started work on the protocol improvements themselves. Again, closely coordinated with the research team to ensure every change is grounded in the real world needs. And yeah, this work for both of them will continue through the next month. We are going to refine, validate, and iterate both of them. Beyond these specific features, and maybe here you Callum would have more insights, but we are also been looking broadly into how to manage sweeps, not just a list of proposals, but also how we define sweeps life cycle from idea to evaluation to implementation and beyond. The research team is actively involved in these discussions. And on the more practical and technical side, there has been a really productive conversation, particularly around negative incentives and smart neighborhood management sweeps. Two major proposals that would really love to start implement them. We would really love to start implement. And yeah, that's it. To wrap it up, being browser is progressing quite nice. Also, pulsing improvements are underway now, backed by real-time metrics, and across the board, we're becoming more intentional about how we manage sweeps and evolve the protocol. Before I end up, I would like to thank everyone for contributing to Swarm. Me being an engineer, I really appreciate you running the nodes, providing feedback. Sorry if we don't get quite that fast to reach to you back and answer. We will try to do better. But yeah, thanks for your involvement, and yeah, I'm glad to be part of this project and to see what can be built and what can be done with it in the future.
Yeah, well said, Calin. And
That's
just to that point, as you say, we've been redesigning this web process, and that comes with having to make priorities and having to make choices. But I think every decision that we're making at the minute and what you see in the releases, and then therefore in the network metrics afterwards, is that every choice that we're making and things that we're including at each release is all metrics driven, or we want to impact something that has an actual change that can be measured, that then reflects a better service for the network in general, which I think we see kind of time and time again on the last couple of releases. So really what I'm seeing is the network itself becoming more consistent, more robust, and better metrics and better speeds every time I have a conversation like this, or at least the conversation is always much more focused or getting more focused with every release all the time. We're kind of zeroing in on everything, which kind of leads me to us coming towards the end of this epic of looking for stability, improvement in speeds and uploads, downloads, pulse sync speeds and metrics, you name it. I think everything is becoming great and consistent across the board, which is ultimately the bedrock of what we're building here as an open source project, to then equally include all the sweeps both internally and from the external contributors, because that is what we're here to do at the end of the day, not just build what we want and do what we want and kind of ignore everyone else. So I think you can all see that with the negative incentives, everything that we're kind of investigating and proposing inside the research team and from the externals as well, of what to do with stake management, you name it. So we are here to completely overhaul things to what it serves the network best. Both from an engineering perspective, performance perspective, and incentives perspective. You can see all of that kind of coming soon. And I think that's definitely reflected in the B team's performance over the last couple of months and the last few releases for sure.
definitely, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Colin. If there's not anything else, then what I want to do is transition from basically here we are with the last release that's gone well with a great network, and we know where we're coming to next with the next release. But what are we going to do with that? What are we building on top of it? What does that allow us to build basically with such a great stable network in a great market? What direction are we going in with it? What are people building on top of it? What's the functionality that we can actually unlock with what we're actually achieving here? So with that being said, then I'd like to invite Ramesh and Danny up onto the stage. You can put your hands up. We'll get you up here. Okay, hi guys. Can you hear me? Can you speak? Got your microphones?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Ramesh. Uh, Danny,
Right.
I think yours is not on or permitted. But anyway, so while Danny's figuring that out, Ramesh, basically what we just talked about is the development on Swarm is just accelerating and accelerating. We're getting past the point of stability and more starting to excel in performance and kind of all metrics here. But to look at the bigger picture and kind of look at the ongoing projects and what we're building on top of, then give us a sense of where we're going with the products that are being developed on top of Swarm and any of the specific kind of business or partnership directions that we're moving in and why or what you think about that.
Sure. So, thanks for having me. So, one of the key areas that we're focusing on currently is accessibility, ease of use, and bringing more stability to the network. So, building out like services on top of the protocol and targeting key verticals where Swarm has a particularly unique advantage. So, in that sense, across all three, we and the developer community have made quite a bit of progress, especially in the recent months. So, I'm going to start with like accessibility and ease of use first. So, with the latest 2.6 release, we have seen a massive increase in terms of performance. We have reduced the sync time, which used to be quite a bit of a waiting period, especially for new node operators. And so through a series of optimizations in peer discovery and data synchronization, we have managed to bring that down by almost 80% in our test environments. So I think like in the real world, we will see how well that is also turning out. So this makes joining the new networks faster when you spin up new B nodes. And the network is far more reliable than ever. So effectively lowering the barrier of entry. And so the idea is to bring in more users and more node runners as well. So those are the improvements that have already been there. So there also been improvements in post-stage stamp syncing, so to reduce the bootstrapping time there as well. And and there is actually even more optimizations coming to the post-stage stamp syncing. That's a work in progress, so we are going to see that in the next releases as well.
Yeah, definitely. And look, accessibility is probably my favorite topic at the minute anyway when it comes to Swarm. And equally, all those, again, being metrics driven, you know the percentages that we're talking about. And that just goes to show with what we're actually caring about. You know, you measure what you care about. And I think that's exactly where our heads are at the minute. That is, you know, one aspect of, let's say, as a node operator, as you're trying to get set up on the network for a node, and all of these startup times, syncing times, kind of the fundamental processes and metrics of the network are all fantastic. That's for, you know, the core infrastructure users or kind of the network participants. But then even if we go one layer above that, we're talking about kind of network usage. And from there, what we're interested in is how easily can you come in, and maybe not just as a node operator, but just as a user that wants to upload something, download something. And you know, we've alluded to that already with kind of Calin already saying that they've got everything set in place to build towards this in-browser client. You know, Danny, if he was here as well and talking, he would be kind of emphasizing, and yourself, Ramesh, with the usability of, let's say, B-port or, you know, aka the multi-chain app. So even on the network level, the performance is great. On the startup times and the running times of everything, all the network, all the metrics are great. And then even above that, the ease of use of the product suite that we kind of have in our hands that is kind of getting ready to deliver over the next weeks and months kind of takes that to a whole different level that Swarm hasn't had before, which
Right.
myself personally am very, very interested in.
Right. So that's the other thing. Like, so there are the couple of parallel things that are also being worked on from like the more technical side is that there is this brand new file manager that we're building on top of this one desktop app. There. Oh, hi. Danny's here. I I think his speaker or
Still not
microphone is
right.
still right. Okay, so yeah, I'll continue. And and we're planning to integrate ACT also onto the file manager so that it will make it easier to sync local files with Swarm. So those are desks around the Swarm desktop and improving, bringing real utility to the Swarm desktop app. On the other front, there is also a new work being done on bringing global pinning finally to Swarm. It's something that I've been waiting for more than a year now. So I'm actually super happy that global work on global pinning is being done to bring that. So just to give an idea of like why global pinning, I think global pinning is critical for Swarm. Um, so right now we can already pin data to the node, but you cannot, and another node in the network cannot access it. So the pinned data is not directly served by the network or accessible to the network unless you push the pinned data to the disk. What global pinning will bring is that you will be able to pin contents directly to your local node and serve it to the other nodes in the network. So in a way, it actually brings back the decentralized culture of self-hosting that we used to have back in the early days of the internet, long before the whole centralized servers and Amazon and all the cloud things came into the picture. So I see this as like a pretty exciting new feature that is coming. Also because global pinning will bring almost free tier to the network, where as long as you are self-hosting, you're not exactly paying for storage yet. So you can start building an app and serving it and locally pin your data, and eventually as the demand comes, as the demand grows, then you might want to upgrade it and store it to the disk on Swarm, where you get all the performance benefits on top. So yeah, global pinning will, in that sense, bring sort of a IPFS feature parity onto Swarm. So I'm pretty excited about this new feature.
Definitely, and like kind of subtly, I think that's where things are going, right? Which is, I guess, is just the UX side or the feature and services side of Swarm is what's really coming on here. So if we have global pinning, we have great performance. You can run locally. You can build out basically any app or any infrastructure for your use case, kind of in a permissionless way, which completely deviate from any of the other kind of decentralized storage protocols or anything remotely similar. When it comes to then services that are being built on top, Ramesh, then what is happening there basically with these features and what we have available? Who's building what? If it's, Bport, if it's Swarmy, basically, what are you looking at that you're saying that's exactly the right use of this feature?
Right, exactly. No, so yeah, I would like to see global pinning come to the Swarm network. Yeah, maybe I can't wait. I can't wait for it to happen.
And then literally, so even building on top of that, if we have all these different things put in place, we have then this fleet of services that can get built on top with everything that we've delivered and the performance that we have. We have this great opportunity to make pretty much any application that we want. And you can see things like for the likes of Swarmy that allows users to pay for storage with a credit card, where it's already working with kind of fantastic partners like Snapshot, or another initiative that we have which we've talked about. You may have heard it as the multi-chain app renamed lovingly to Bport, which kind of takes this whole network to a very different level and something that's incredibly easy to use. And then just like Calin said before this, then what we also have kind of coming as a product is the at least the demo initially of the in-browser client. So to square the circle here, what we really have is a hyper performant network way for anybody to come along and use it and upload to it, and a very easy way to be able to come along and access and download whatever has been uploaded to the network as well, all the while not having to spin up your own node or really do any kind of complicated payment processes by postage stamps, or everything is abstracted to the background. I think that's just incredibly exciting for what can be built and what is being built already. Even if it's in these key verticals that you mentioned, Ramesh, like between what's happened with AI and multimedia and kind of what I hear with the MCP developments. So if you can maybe talk about that for a few minutes, I'd be interested to hear the developments.
Right. So before we go to MCP, so we also have more improvements happening on Swami, which is the first service provider on for the Swarm network. So if you don't want to run your own B node, then you can actually start using Swami. There's that track as well. Then regarding the B port that you mentioned. Again, it's still making great progress, and the core infrastructure is ready on the B port, and we are doing some heavy testing at the moment. We are focused on scaling it, adding more nodes to the network, and deepening liquidity for more token pairs so that B port will be widely accessible and usable. Once that is done, we are also working on a library and a front-end widget so that anyone can integrate this, which makes buying basically from any chain or any network pretty easy and like drop-in integrations possible. Eventually, this functionality will also be integrated into the new file manager that's being worked on. So that's about the B port. To come to the last one, which was the MCP and targeting the whole area of the domain of AI and multimedia. What we are, actually, the Solarpunk team has been working quite intensely on this and so doing some good work there. So after a successful proof of concept, they are now building a minimum viable product. And the goal is to create a seamless integration, positions Swarm as a default decentralized data streaming layer for AI, for video, and the MCP MVP is just the starting phase of that. So it's all about making Swarm the easiest and most secure choice for developers. And while we're on the topic of streaming, I think Solarpunk team is also working on a demo they're working on a previous demo that already shows that live high quality video streaming is already possible using Swarm's native primitives. And I can't wait to see that also come to.
Exactly. And well, I'll give Dániel a last chance to see if his mic works, if he wants to come in and say anything about that.
Yeah, I think that. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah, go for it.
I really don't know what was the issue. I think Ramesh just actually went through on everything that we planned to share with you during this call. As he mentioned, the Solarpunk team is working on this MCP protocol MVP. And I think that's going to let us tap into this AI market, which is definitely booming. One of the key segments that we see there as having a unique opportunity for Swarm is agent-to-agent communication and the ecosystems around that. And there are many small AI companies trying to find a way to cooperate with each other. What their struggle is that if they want to share data, how they are going to do that, and what's going to be the secure layer to share data. And that's where Swarm can come into the place. So with ACT, we are absolutely brilliantly positioned to give a solution for these agent-to-agent communication protocols. We are in discussion with many key players in the market, and I'm sure that you will be hearing quite a lot about that in the future.
Yeah, and to then close this topic off, really, or at least the thought that's in my head is, where is the market going for crypto and development and AI in general? And then are we building the right things and measuring the right things here at Swarm? And is that what we're reflecting here on this community call? So I'd say what we have is a hyper-performant network that's incredibly extensible, and then building out all of these easy to use features, product suites, and connections with MCP to be able to extend into where crypto and tech in general and where the world is going, basically from just crypto in general, storage in general, bandwidth, video, multimedia, AI, privacy first. I'd say the beautiful thing about Swarm is that it can extend to all of these use cases, even all within one product, which is what I'm really waiting on in some way, shape, or form. But that's what I'm excited by. Everything that we've just heard from the network performance to the releases to the products, and then what's ahead. When I weigh that up with where the world is, or where the market is at the minute, or where the technology is, I see us moving right along with it. But more to that point, the man of the hour, I will move on to basically our next part, which is the community talk, which is Web3 momentum and crypto policy. So we're going to find out kind of exactly where the market is, what's moving it, and what are the trends, what can we expect over the next lot of months or years, even with both the tech and the policies around it. So with that, I'll invite Lou to the stage. He's got his hand up already. If I can look at light. There we go. You're on stage. Can you hear us okay?
All right. Hey, Callum, I can hear you just fine. You hear me?
Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, of course I can. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Look, how to introduce you. Basically, you've done so much and too many interesting things to mention. But basically, what I should say is this is Lou Kerner, basically the founder of Crypto Mondays Collective, basically the largest crypto meetup group on the face of the earth, I would say, at this point. Recently coming to Ireland as well, which is what I'm quite keen about. So pleased to hear that. But Lou, why don't you kind of give everyone a brief introduction and then I'll set the scene. You're muted, by the way, Lou, just in case you didn't know.
Sorry about that. As Callum said, hey, Callum, I'm sorry. I'll be back just one sec.
Not a bother. Not a bother. There should be a button where I can play the Discord music while we wait.
Hey, sorry about that. So
no worries.
I was saying, so my quick background, I was a Wall Street analyst for the first third of my career. I started two crypto companies. The first was the top level domain .tv, which we bought from the island nation of Tuvalu for $50,099,000. And the second was called Bolt. We were the largest social network in the world before MySpace. And I spent a lot of time thinking about community, and because I spent so much time thinking about community, when I saw the crypto light on June 29th, 2017, what I saw was, for the first time in history, we have a tool set to solve for the community instead of the man in the middle. And I thought that was going to be the biggest thing in the history of mankind. And I've been 24/7 crypto for 8 years now.
Yeah, illustrious career to say the least. So that's why you're qualified basically to have this conversation with me on this community call for Web3 momentum and the crypto policies. So just as an overview, we're building all of this on Swarm. We have all these features. We have all this technical development. We have this explosion of AI, and you're equally very deep with all of the AI updates as well. I probably don't know anyone that is more kind of in the mix of where AI and crypto intersect than you. Where do you feel the momentum is with Web3 at the minute, as well as the market conditions and basically this overhaul in SEC policy becoming extremely favorable and probably extremely privacy focused, which is interesting, especially given the kind of counterpoint or counter argument to where EU has definitely changed their policies or their outlook as well. So just wondering, Web3 in general, what's your feeling on market narrative, sentiment, and policy for where we are and where we're going to head to? You're muted, by the way, Lou, as well, just in case you didn't know.
Well, sorry about that. Yeah, obviously, I'm very bullish long term, and as I mentioned, I used to be a securities analyst, and so it's hard to really kind of appreciate exactly the moment that you're at because it changes moment to moment. Since I was a Wall Street analyst, I put out 2 price targets. One was on Facebook, which I saw in the early 2010 years before it went public. And the second is I have a 10-year $1 million price target on Bitcoin that I put out in January of 2021. And so, and we're tracking very well against that. And so it's a long way to say, I'm long-term bullish. Short-term, it's like the weather. Nobody knows what the weather is going to be in a month. There are just too many variables. And there are just, so many things day to day that impact the price and change. But, all of the reasons that most of us got into crypto, are becoming, more important every single day. And I feel more confident about the 10-year $1 million price target. Obviously there's been a sea change in terms of policy, in the United States. And, that's had certainly a positive impact on price. But for me, I'm not here because, the government is going to like us. I don't think the government is going to like us. Full stop. I don't spend a whole lot of time on government and policies. I really try and keep my mind share on government spent on 2 very simple facts. Fact number 1, the government is not our friend. And fact number 2, tomorrow it's going to be different. Tomorrow it's going to be worse.
Always the optimist.
No, I feel like I'm an optimist. I do. I totally feel like I'm an optimist. That's why I'm out here. That's why I believe, that that we've got a chance to win this fight.
Well, that's it. I think if you can't beat them, join them. I think that's exactly what we're seeing at this specific minute in time. Even very recently, we've got basically the Republicans that are highly involved in the SEC basically coming out and quoting the Cypherpunk manifesto for a heavily crypto.
Yeah, that's because that's how they can scam us and make money off us, not how they can help us.
Absolutely. But to give a very, very obscure, Irish colloquialism, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And, if that helps us in the meantime, at this minute in time with the market.
I completely agree with you. Yes.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. Yeah. Just we can't delude ourselves that, in fact, they are our friends and they're here to help us and they're going to help us. They're not going to help us. Unless it's by happen chance because it helps them.
Yeah, well, policy is one thing.
Yeah, so the takeaway from this is that if the government, even the government, is talking about privacy, whether we believe them or not, we are on the right track, keeping privacy as the main focus. So that's
undoubtedly
the optimistic takeaway that I see.
Well, yeah, I completely agree.
Regardless of what regardless of what the government does, it's in our best interest to embrace privacy.
Exactly.
Yeah, which, and this kind of goes back to, the section before this is, are we building and are our beliefs aligned with the market and where we're going long term? And I would say absolutely with this measure, everyone will adopt, policies will open up, and then they'll close again. Administrations can change every 4 years. It will do, and people will change their stance on policies and privacy, etc. But the difference here is that may be very well true for centralized services, anything like that. The EU's trying to consider, or at least considering, banning, encrypted messaging, things like that, just active monitoring. And that comes down to the principle of, is you can write code based on the law, or is code the law? And at least with Swarm, we can say that, well, whatever we do, it follows the code. We're privacy first. We're permissionless. Nothing can touch it. That is kind of the guiding principle of crypto and privacy and what we're here to work on and deal with anyway. And I think that is where the market's heading, though, Lou, to your point, for how long, we'll see, but I don't think that they can slow down the technology. And I think that's what's reflected in the current market prices.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. For me, I don't think the government, though, is really, I mean, while I do think they are our enemy, luckily they're, mostly really incompetent. Yeah, and I think our challenge is not the government, but I think the biggest threat is what I've been calling for 8.5 years now, FAMGA, which is Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, and the fact that we're now living in a world of a few tech monopolies, and they also do not want this to be successful. And so, they're the ones who are really going to try and capture, all of the value from this.
Exactly. Look, we don't want them to just continue to monetize every ounce of data, across the face of the earth, and then to take it one step further for privacy as well. Your personal private messages or your private data is not your own. It can be subpoenaed, it can be obtained, again, by the government, by lawmakers very, very easily when it's not theirs and shouldn't be readily accessible. That's where private messaging, encryption, swarm, any service like that is just incredibly important and kind of constitutional as a private citizen, that you kind of have the right to privacy at some degree, and that has to be reflected in the technology that you build, that you back, and that we use as a society. It's very Web 2 way of thinking for everything that happened beforehand, of how they siloed every ounce of data that they could get their hands on. But again, it's brave new world. I think there will be differences.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, obviously we're moving now, as you've been discussing, into a world of AI, and that's going to be such a dominant technology, and one that, appears to be driven by data. And those guys have so much data. And so, I think it's also, incredibly important for us to, really focus on, the needs of decentralized AI, and have that as an alternative for the people who want it.
Exactly. So that was going to be my next and most important question, is with the future of Web3 and the ecosystem, where we're kind of coming to the intersection of where does AI, decentralized AI, decentralized protocols and storage kind of all come into place. What does that future look like? As opposed to just running, Llama or a different kind of, closed source model where they've just harvested your kind of proprietary data. Instead, there needs to be open source models that we can kind of understand, query, and add to and trust. Where do you see AI and decentralized AI and the various protocols that kind of enable it, like Swarm? Kind of where does that come into play in the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly everybody knows that AI is coming. And I think the products that Swarm is building, to enable that, is certainly they're going where we hope the market goes in terms of having at least an option for decentralized AI. It's my belief that the main way most of us are going to broadly interact with AI is through AI agents, right? And so that's why we're both a part of the Decentralized AI Agent Alliance, right? And setting the rules, or the standards for how that works, so it's able to scale as we can scale these decentralized AIs, because I think that's I think decentralized AI, AI in general, I think of it like electricity. One day there wasn't electricity, and then there was electricity the next day, and the first people who had it had a very big advantage. But very quickly everybody got electricity, and today electricity powers 100% of everything, but very few people have an electricity advantage. Hopefully that's where we're going to go with AI. We will have decentralized AI alternatives that will be just as good as the centralized AI choices.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that, and that is kind of fundamentally important for maybe a couple of reasons, which I don't know if maybe they're just based on all the projects that you come in contact with that are, let's say, a mix of like decentralized, and obviously we've all used and know the kind of centralized models as well, but they can be censored, not give certain replies, hallucinate, based on the data that they're given, and definitely be driven to respond in a certain kind of way, as opposed to, let's say, what a decentralized AI would not do and is actually free to operate whatever way they like, or you can fork it and do that yourself. So I'm just wondering, have you seen any projects that are doing that really well for decentralized AI agents that kind of it might verge into the world of kind of crypto and using decentralized permissionless protocols as well, as opposed to trying to use the large models?
I think we're incredibly early today. There was a lot of excitement around AI agents, maybe about a year ago, year and a half ago now, and there was a lot of enthusiasm around it. And it's the bottom line is stuff takes time. And so, I think, you saw kind of some of the early leaders like, Eliza, come out and have some, really interesting, like really simple thoughts. But yeah, on the AI agent side, what we found is that in fact, even simple things like ordering DoorDash, for example. I heard this company speak, who'd been, the guy from Google DeepMind, built a team, and, they worked for 6 months trying to have an AI agent that would be able to handle your DoorDash. And, they were only able to get the order right like 60% of the time, which obviously is so far from, the 99 plus that it needs to be. And it shows you where we are. We're just very, very early. Actually, I heard the guy from Eliza was on a panel recently, and he asked, what's the main problem holding back faster growth of AI agents? And he says, well, I think the main problem is they don't work. And that's really the truth where we are today. It's very, very early. But we have a lot of the smartest people, I think, in the world, are working at the intersection of AI and Web3, and I think we're going to solve our problems.
It definitely, I think just in that vein, for most of these problems, it comes down to what you said before, is just data. There needs to be a lot of data that we need to get our hands on to be able to sufficiently train these models, or run it on synthetic data. You need somewhere to put that. You need to be able to train these decentralized models and agents at a better, faster rate that's more productive than, say, what the large scale private models are doing. And I think that's where decentralization and open source projects, maybe like Eliza and like Swarm, kind of all start to kind of fit together, fit like a glove, where we can do the right things and kind of open source that, put as much data in as we need to, and we can build and iterate whatever we like in a permissionless way, and everybody can avail of that, not just privately. So I think you're right. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of people and a lot of protocols coming together to have it work properly and in an open source way, ideally, which would be nice. But I think you're right. It is going to take an awful long time, and it's rarely the first out the gate that kind of wins everything in the end as well. And it's probably not a winner take all market. Again, the world we're going to end up in is very agentic, where there's swarms of agents that do many different things that interact together across numerous different protocols, and you have a fleet of them in Web3. And luckily, just happy that Swarm performs a very key core function and can integrate with all of that, either if it's with our MCP efforts that Danny just talked about earlier as well. Is just a great start.
Yeah, I mean, I really believe that Swarm's deep embracing of AI is ultimately going to serve the entire community really, really well.
Absolutely, likewise. But with that brings us towards the end of our community call. So now we've got 10 minutes left to go. So I thought I'd just open up to quick Q&A. If there's any questions in the chat for anybody on stage whatsoever, easy ones, please. And we'll be happy to answer them. Give a few minutes to see if anything comes through.
So, I can, if we are, while we wait for questions, I can add something. So I completely agree with what Lou mentioned about being early, and we are actually super early in both in terms of recognizing the value of privacy, which is why you have Facebook and all these kind of centralized data collectors extracting so much value. Now you see the same thing with AI, and I think what we are gonna see in down this line is like when now that even government is quoting from the cypherpunk manifesto and like talking about privacy, you know that okay, this is privacy is going to uh, become a far more valuable asset down the line. Not to trust the government, but at least we know that there is a gradual awareness on the importance of privacy, and I see privacy becoming more valuable assets down the line. And so that's when I think we will see the real adoption that we all want. But we are getting there.
If I may add to something to this, as Lou mentioned, he used the analogy of the electricity as a commodity, and if you use that analogy nowadays, you are plugging yourself into the grid, and you're getting electricity and you don't even know where the power plant is. And I think that's part of the future. What AI will see is like now we are talking about these large scale big models dominating the market, but there are like many different models being built, and I'm sure that they are going to be specialized in certain areas, and the value that the actual customer is going to get at the end of the day, it's going to be like electricity. They will not know where the data came from and with what interactions different AI agents made just to make sure that he is getting the right answer. And this is where Swarm with its the security layer is very well positioned. So if we can only be the transactional layers between these agents, that's already something which is great to see.
Yeah, well said. Thank you very much, Danny, and thank you very much everyone else for coming on stage and talking, and thanks everybody for attending and listening to this month's community call. So no questions this month, but then we will see you again on the next community call. I believe that's the 25th of September. So see you all then, and thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.